Kobi, welcome to Mastering Business Growth. How are we doing, pal?
Yeah, I'm good, bud. I'm good.
Excellent.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, so funny story. You know, we shot one of these a while ago before I really knew exactly what I was doing with it. Since come up with Mastering Business Growth and thought, you know what? I still got the files from the first one we did, but let's reshoot this because I think I've got a clear idea of what I'm trying to do. And it's basically, I'm trying to get business tips from people who are doing real well in business. So please, can we start with... Well, you said you were doing well.
Yeah. I want to be
doing better. Get out.
I want to be doing better. I always want to be doing better. There's no resting down being like, hey, I've done it. I'm happy.
No one's officially done it, but I think we might learn a thing or two from you. So please, let's start with who you are and what you do.
So I'm Kobi. I run a property investment company. We buy houses and rent them out to families, or we run them as brothels, one or the other. The last part usually gets me in trouble with ladies. I don't know why. No, we rent out houses to families. Really straightforward, really simple. My view is capitalism with a conscience, and that's kind of the approach to how we do it with the properties. Good quality houses that the goal has always been, would you let your mother live in it? And if the answer is no, how can you ask someone else? How can you buy that house? How can you rent it out? Don't get me wrong, we buy houses that need work doing to them, but nothing major because it's not worth the time for what we do. Where the aim is buy good quality assets and rent them out quickly.
Nice. Why property then? What got you into that?
My dad was always in property. He was a motorbike courier back in the day, and he always invested all his cash into property and cars. And I just always loved property. It's literally since a young boy, the goal was always to make money to buy property. It was never to make money to go on a holiday or buy something. It was like make money to buy houses. Like that's always been my idea. Just I like the simplicity of it. Keep it simple, stupid. And I just think property, just so many people overcomplicating it, but keeping it simple, residential, family homes, I just love it.
Whereabouts do you have property?
So we've got a couple in London, but the bulk of the estate, just over 100 houses, is in South and West Yorkshire. So Doncaster, Rotherham, Barnsley, a little bit in Bradford, and all around there, and all the towns in between. That's kind of a key for us, is focusing on where families actually want to be. It's kind of cool when you're young to be in the city centre. Home for me is London and Barnsley. But the reality is, if I had kids, I'd want to be in a little town outside where there's nice gardens, nice parks. It's always what I enjoyed as a kid, being taken to the park. So,
no, of course. So obviously doing super well now, got a bunch of properties under your belt. You didn't start there though. You've told me various things in the past, from car washing to gardening or lawnmower incidents and whatnot. Yeah. So please take us back to the beginning, where the whole entrepreneurial journey began.
Do we start with trashing the lawnmower now?
Sure, yeah. Well, let's go into that.
Just get that out the way? Or
was that the first job?
No. So when I was 13, the 5th of May 2009.
My God, what a memory.
5th of May? 3rd of May 2009, because it was 03, 05, 09.
Right.
And 05's May. So there you go. Started up knocking on doors with a bucket in each hand and trying to get business, washing cars. Did that for 5 years, but in that time went from doing it with a bucket in each hand to having 12 guys working for me. Bicycle trailers, from Halfords, you can put your kids in a bicycle trailer. So we had Henry Hoovers in there, pressure washers, buckets, sponges, all the gear.
And how old were you when you had a 12 employee count, 12 person?
I think at that point was most like about 14, 15.
That's hilarious.
It was quite funny, because everyone's just like, oh, you wash cars? I'm like, nah, kind of. Yeah, we were making like $2,000 on a weekend, which was way more than working at Waitrose. And all my guys who were working for me were earning more money than if they worked at Waitrose. And my view was I didn't want to be stuck inside behind a desk. I still can't do that. I need to be out and about getting hands dirty. It wasn't the case of, oi guys, you go wash cars. I'm going to have the day off.
I'm going to count the money.
I was knocking on doors, which I hated. I still hate cold calling. I hate anything going in cold. And I have to say, as a teenager, having a fear of knocking on doors, doing a car washing business was, fun times.
Well, do you know what's hilarious? Because I've learned a lot about this recently, a bit more about how sales works and the fact that there isn't really such a thing as sales. People buy what they want when they want. So the secret to cold calling is don't make it cold. That's why none of us like it, because it does not work. We know what to expect. What are the chances of someone going, you've stopped me unexpected in the middle of God knows whatever I'm doing, and you just offered me something? The chances of someone going, yeah, I need that, is extremely slim.
Oh, completely. So what we used to do, because I hated knocking on the doors, we'd have these trailers and brand them up. So we had big A1 signs on the back of it. We'd also make sure whenever we were at a house, we'd have a big A1 sign at the entrance to the house. And, you know, on certain roads, I don't care what people say, neighbours are always watching. Like, there's a famous road in Maidenhead Bray called Fishery Road, which is where you had the likes of Sir Michael Parkinson living. You also had Rolf Harris living. And look, once we got one house on that road, within 2 months, we had nearly every house. Everyone's watching. And then all of a sudden, you're getting the neighbouring roads, and people watch. And I think that's great for business as a whole. People are watching what you're doing, because and I'm terrible at it. Posting on LinkedIn, posting on social media of what's going on. Like, I didn't even post a picture of what we're doing today. I thought, on the car journey over, I was like, I'm going to take a picture, post it on LinkedIn, doing a podcast. But people pay attention to what you're doing, even if they don't like you. Potential
Especially
customers.
If they don't like you.
Yeah, if they don't like you, definitely. But potential customers, like we did last year, I think we posted a video every day, except on Saturdays. So 6 videos a week for just over a year, and it was very much about getting people to be aware of what we're doing with property awareness. And did we get business from it? Yeah. Did we get a huge amount of business from it? No, but it was also brand awareness, and it was just a bit of education.
Just adding another cog to the overall machine.
100%. You know, I just think awareness, and like we've done so much in marketing over the last few years that has worked and hasn't worked. And the ones that I'm more interested in afterwards has been the stuff that hasn't worked. I say afterwards because at the time when you're dropping 15, 20 grand on something and you're like, it's not working, this is upsetting. But look, at least you're learning. I think it's all learning. The car washing was a lot of learning, you know, making sure that we're set up for taxes, making sure we had insurance, how to treat people properly.
I was going to say, how formally was this set up? Did you have guys on like full on payroll, or was it all just cash in hand, or what?
So I was declaring everything.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Cheers, HMRC. No. I still had the spreadsheets, literally detailed whose car, everything on the weekends, who got what tits.
And there's going to be a link to them in the comments below.
Oh, cheers. Like, it was all very, very formal. Like, in hindsight, I think if we had card machines back then, it would have even been easier, but everything was bank transfers and cash. And it really simple. The boys get paid bank transfer at the end of the weekend. I always remember I was so happy after school going to HSBC Maidenhead and paying in all this cash. I felt like such a baller. But no, it was all kosher. Thank you very much. But we had to, because the typical car we were washing was Bentley Continentals and Range Rovers. Like, if you didn't have insurance, and something went wrong, you're in trouble. And things went wrong. Like, we had a bicycle dropped on a Bentley Continental GT, which was, I don't know, at the time was kind of horrifying. I think after the fact, even the owner was laughing about it, because of all the people to drop a bicycle on a car. It wasn't just one of the employees, it was my little brother. And it only cost 60 quid to get the scratch and the dent out. So that was all right. But it was just like, this is why we have insurance. Because yeah.
How did that happen?
Gravel driveway, moving a bicycle, moving a Bentley. The guy was in the car as it happened. Like, not that we'd ever deny it anyway, because my view is honesty. And like, when we had the car washing business, I was also doing odd jobs for clients, like we do bartending for parties. And as you alluded to earlier, we did some gardening, because I thought, gosh, everyone trusts us. We've got this great reputation for service. We're getting the service right, we're getting the quality, we're delivering. It's like, loads of our clients have huge ass gardens, and some have gardens, some don't. Why don't we start offering gardening services? We had a lovely client, Jason and Helen. And Jason, thank you for being kind to me when I fucked it up. They went on holiday and they just bought this brand new John Deere sit-on lawnmower. And I want to say it was either the first time riding it whilst he'd been away or the second time. My foot slipped and I hit a tree in his garden and I damaged the front of the lawnmower quite badly, which was unfortunate because this was brand new and I'm very much shitting myself.
How old were you at the time?
I think I must have been about 15 at the time then, and it was just like, cool, they're still away for another 2 weeks. I can get this fixed. Spoke to the local garage. They were the ones who actually sold it to him. They were like, yeah, we know it, but they needed it in the workshop. And of course, we couldn't get the tractor out of his property without opening the gates, which you couldn't do unless you had keys to the house, which we didn't. So I arranged for the tractor to be picked up the day after they got back from holiday. The day they got back, I'm sure the last thing they wanted was me knocking on the door and saying, hey, I know the lawn's not mowed. This has happened. But went round straight away, told him he thought it was quite funny. I was insisting that he'd pay for it. Didn't let him. I paid for it because my responsibility. We got a better price and we continued to wash the cars after. We did not continue to cut his lawn. I don't actually think I offered to cut the lawn after that.
Do you know what? At the age of 15, how did you have the foresight to handle that so maturely?
I think it was also more of a case of scared of losing the car washing side and all the neighbours, because if you deal with it badly, people are going to know about it. And it's the same with the properties. You know, you're always going to have the odd bad property where something happens or a bad tenant. But if you get a reputation for handling it badly, we're going to have an issue. Like we had it, I want to say last year, we had a tenant have an issue with the electricity. Everything had tripped due to rain and essentially got through the brickworks and needed repointing and everything. We got that fixed, I want to say in like 2-3 days, got everything sorted. But tenant had logged with the council that we still hadn't fixed it after 5 or 6 weeks.
Right.
And we have everything on a cloud system, nice audit trail, loads of pictures, loads of invoices. Councils called me up, all very aggressive. Thank you, Yorkshire Council. I will not name a specific council. And I said, well, look, we got nothing to hide. Go do an inspection, but also we'll give you access to our system so you can see everything's done. And funnily enough, the tenant still lied to the officer on the phone. And it was just like, what's the benefit? And I know that tenant has cried wolf several times to the council, who now just ignore them. But look, when there's an issue, we sort it out. You've got to. I think it's that whole thing of being responsible and putting your hands up saying, hey, look, I fucked up. There's an issue. We need to sort this. And yeah. I think too often people panic. And I think the industry for property doesn't necessarily have a good name when it comes to residential landlords, because you've got so many rogue landlords. You've got, and I say so many, it's actually only a small minority. But when you look at it, I think in 2019 we had stats from the Department of Homes England came out saying 85% of landlords have 1 to 4 properties. Only 6% of landlords are in limited company. So you talk about the bulk of people are just trying to get by. And, you know, when you look at 1 to 4 properties, how many people is their first property? They don't know what they're doing. And they try to save some money not using a management company, and things go wrong. You know, we have clients where we very much take the grip and we just get on, and if there's a problem, we'll tell the client, hey, look, this is the problem, this is how much it's going to cost to fix. We're already getting it fixed. And I think that's the best way. We bought a house back in, I want to say June or July. Tenant been in there 6 years. They'd have a whole list of issues. I turned up, I think week 1 or 2 of buying the house, and was just like, come on, show me around the house, show me everything that's wrong. And within, I want to say a month, we had everything fixed. Yeah, we upped her rent, no question. They were paying 500 quid a month. They should be paying 600. We upped it to 550. I think that's a nice balance. And we spent a couple of hundred quid getting the works done. You know, they're happy. They've got kids. It's a lovely house. There's not a single house we have that I wouldn't live in myself. And I think that's important.
That's great. And you know what? I like to talk about business development and operations as 2 major buckets, but something you mentioned there, I imagine a huge part of what you do, which massively dictates how your business operates, is the quality of tenants. So you mentioned there, you know, you get the odd bad egg. How do you go through like screening the right people that you want to live there? And is it worth holding out longer to find the right people so you have less problems down the line?
So it's a conversation I had last summer with a client in great depths over way too much alcohol on this whole process. Like, look, the first point of check is really you're meeting the potential tenant at the viewing. And look, I don't do that. I have someone in the team. She does that for me. It's far easier. I'll be honest, it's not a good use of my time. Plain and simple. And from first impression, we start making a decision. Like, are they dressed appropriately? In the sense, are they clean clothes? We've had some.
Well, what do you take from these? How do you use their presentation to?
Well, it's about all these things. Like, if they turn up messy, if they turn up reeking of weed, covered in mud. Like, if they're covered in mud but they're working a labourer job, then it's slightly different.
Yeah.
But all these things. If they're turning up late, if someone's turning up half an hour late for a viewing, well, already, as far as I'm concerned, you're done. Unless you've called us before and said, hey, look, it's 2:45, viewing's at 11, my bus is cancelled, or I'm having whatever. But, so often people will turn up late to viewings with no consideration. And I think that's a big red flag. It's also just providing paperwork. We've had it before where someone has said, yeah, look, I'm going to take the house. We're happy with them. But then the holding deposit, when they were supposed to send it, they never sent it. Or they didn't disclose a county court judgment, CCJ. I have no problem with CCJs. And I say that because if you're honest about it and tell us, okay, up front, I've got a CCJ, it's for parking, it's for a mobile phone, I'm actually fine with that. And most of my landlords are also fine with that. It's just the case of, if you tell us, we don't care. But if it's the case of we find out about it for a credit check, why are you hiding it?
There's just something about that first interaction of right, you lie. Okay. I mean, don't get wrong. All people lie, but there's a time and a place to do it. And there's certain ones where it's there's no point causing a fuss there. But something like, hey, this is important. You put a lot of money into what you do. And, I plan on paying you a lot of money through this house. So it's, you have to start these things. These are big decisions. You have to start them with full, we're honest, we're open.
Look, a house, so the way we work, we're sourcing and we're managing these properties. Some of the properties are my own. I treat every house as if it's my own. These are people's investments. These are people's secondary income. And I appreciate everyone in me is like, oh, it shouldn't be your right to buy houses. I'm like, well, tough. We're investing our cash. You want to buy houses, save up, invest. We've got to be careful on who we let rent houses. I mean, that's the truth. But look, we're working with councils at the moment with the Section 21 evictions, which is the no-fault evictions. We personally haven't actually given out a legitimate Section 21. And I say legitimate because we've handed them out. But the ones we've handed out, if it went to court, would be thrown out because they've been done so badly. Because normally for failure to pay rent, a Section 8, we'd bring in lawyers. For these no-fault evictions, it's usually because the tenant can't get up the stairs anymore. There's health issues. And the council refuses to house them until they have an eviction notice, which makes no sense at all. So it's kind of a mercy eviction of, look, here's the Section 21. I'm not going to take you to court because the paperwork's done badly. The tenancy agreement, everything else is kosher. It's just that notice is done badly because I have no intention of taking you to court. This is so that you can get accommodation. And it's that side of things. It's about being decent, treating others how you want to be treated. And I feel like I've gone off on a tangent here. I don't even remember what the question was, but hey guys.
No, I can't remember what I asked either. Yeah. Anyway, I like to talk about business development, as I mentioned. So tell me a bit about, how do you structure the business? How does it make money?
So business makes money in a couple of simple ways. We source properties for clients, so we charge a fee for that, a percentage of the value of the house. We charge 3% plus VAT, and that's issued to the client upon the memo of sale being issued. So that's the start of the legals. And then, look, there's plenty of companies out there that will source you a house and be like, hey, I've got my $3,000, $4,000, whatever it is, I'm done, adios. And I'm always just like, that's so short-sighted. We're here to source it and we manage it. So then we come in once it's completed and we manage that process. We manage the tenancy, we find the tenant, we put the tenant in. If there's already a tenant in place, we'll put a whole new tenancy agreement in place. Because no disrespect to any agents, we come in and we do everything digitally. So every page of every document is signed. And look, new owner, best way to do it. So we've got those two revenue streams. And then we've been working on the new business It's kind of a new business, kind of not a new business, taking what we're already doing, but on a bigger scale. So we have launched Legacy Property Fund, where we're raising £50 million to do what we're doing, just on a bigger scale. The reality is there's a huge housing crisis in this country, and everyone's always focused on the housing being flats and all these new build properties, all shiny and sexy. And the reality is we need family homes. So the whole point of the fund will be buying family homes in the north of England and renting it out to families. Again, capitalism with a conscience. It's not about getting top money. It's about market value or just slightly below, because if we can get families into houses, they'll be there for 10, 15, 20 years. And that's kind of the goal. That's the net revenue model for us, building a property fund.
Yeah.
You know, it's, okay, yes, great. There'll be the management side of it. There'll be the sourcing side. And I think at that point, you know, we're talking about 1,000 properties. We're going to have to bring the maintenance in-house. I don't think we'll have a choice. But at the same time, other opportunities will arise. It's just about growing the business. The goal is very simple, to grow a sustainable business that supports the family, but also looks after the team. You know, at the moment we have everyone as contractors. I'd love, as soon as the fund's live, to bring everyone in on PAYE. You know, I think there's nothing better you can do than make profit and hire people, but hire people where it's sustainable. You know, I think there's nothing worse when you're hiring people and they're constantly worried about the bills, worried about shopping, you know, and these are things like, for goodness sake, we're in England, it's 2024. You shouldn't be worried about, can I afford the bill at Aldi or Lidl or Tesco's, or for, in your case, for Waitrose, I know. Hey, they're not the Waitrose hummus, that's all. But that's the development, that's the revenue streams at the moment for the business. It's always been a funny one because there's always other things we could do. You know, with the buying process, we work with our solicitors. We don't get kickbacks from those solicitors. We don't get kickbacks from the maintenance guys. You know, we're not getting kickbacks from the insurance brokers, and we work with a great firm of insurance brokers based over in Kettering. Can I say the name?
Yeah, sure.
Danny Flowers Motum Insurance, and Michael Norwood. I'll give you some credit, Mike.
And I want a kickback.
I'm happy with a nice steak meal every now and then, guys. Look, I sponsor one of Danny's kids' football teams.
That's nice.
And they're great guys for my business because they look after my clients. And, you know, you can go online and get £100 insurance policy, but are you covered? And that's like the whole point of what we do is we look at every aspect of a property and make sure that you're catered for, that it's meeting your investment criteria, and how can you not protect it at the end? But yeah, look, but that's our model. We have sourcing fee, we have a management fee, and then soon we'll have Legacy Property Fund up and running. Like, we're just waiting on closing the first deal. We've got cash incoming. And frankly, that's going to be fantastic for Yorkshire. That's going to be fantastic because there's so many landlords exiting the market, regardless of Labour being in power, regardless of former Tories, because of Section 24 tax, where you have these individual landlords being taxed on the gross instead of the net. So for those who don't know, your gross is your revenue, your net is after your costs. So on Section 24, you're paying tax on your gross, and as a result, a lot of landlords in their personal name are not making profit. And Section 24 tax only impacts landlords who own property in their personal name. So those people who bought their first house, met their partners, bought another house and didn't need to sell, they're the ones impacted. And, you know, when you've got over 94% of the UK buy-to-lets in that setup, you're going to start seeing mass exodus, interest rates. You know, I spoke to one of my brokers yesterday and we were talking about 4.7% with one of the high street lenders for buy-to-let. You know, bear in mind 2.5 years ago, you were talking 1.6, 1.8%. That's a big kick in the teeth. I know people in mansions in London.
When you're talking hundreds of thousands of pounds, it's insane.
Crazy. It is crazy. I know people with mansions in London where their mortgages have gone up from like 1,200 to over 5,000. You know, one of my resi mortgages has gone up from 220 to now 360. And look, I planned for that. I expected the rates to rise. And the reality is the house capital-wise has done amazing. So it's okay. And the rent covers it. And we make a good profit on that house.
It's just a shame that you have to absorb that, or one of your tenants does.
Yeah, like everyone's like, rent's going up, landlords being greedy, but the reality is they're going up because the mortgages have gone up because of inflation, interest rates. You know, depending where you stand on macroeconomic views, whether it's all linked, but interest rates are having the direct consequences. Your mortgage goes up. We have had 1.2 million mortgages in the UK expire in 2024. I don't know the split of that between residential and buy-to-lets, but that's the most expiries we've had in the last 3 years, because a lot of those people will be on 5-year fixed. So coming to an end, and they're facing the tough reality of interest rates have gone up dramatically. And you know, we've seen it. Look, we're buying a house at the moment where we've got a whole load of houses we're buying. I was just thinking of one particular one where the landlord has actually not put a tenant back in the house. We viewed the house with a tenant in, tenant was moving out. And I said, well, look, I said to the tenant, if you want to stay living, we're going to buy it and we're just going to keep renting it out. They're like, well, we've been served notice. We have to move out. So many landlords are doing that. So when there's an opportunity to buy a property with a tenant in, we're doing that as well. We've got a couple in legals at the moment where I think one tenant's been in the house 18 years. You know, 18 years, I'd say that's a fairly decent long time. Yeah. And I think she was a tad shocked when we came around to view the house because it was that whole realisation of this isn't actually our house. But look, we're not going to kick them out. They've got a family in there. They've built their lives in that house. Yes, rent's going to go up, but we told the tenant that from day one. And we want to keep the tenant in. But that's what we're doing.
Is that ever a struggle? Do you find many situations where, because you're dealing, like you say, with people's homes, where you find it's disrupting people's lives or anything? It sounds like you say, you do everything with conscience. How are you different from other people there? Is it common for people to just turn up and be like, right, my house now, out you go?
I've heard of cases like that. I've never done that. And I know it has very much pissed off agents who are selling houses to us, because one of the things I will do when we're viewing the property is I will tell the tenant who we are and what we do, because a lot of the time they're really stressed out. They've been told their house is on the market. They don't really understand what's going on. The agents don't necessarily know, or are choosing not to tell the tenant. So we're coming along and I'm like, look, just so you know, we're a professional landlord. If we buy the house, this is what's going to happen. Sometimes if a tenant's really nervous, I'll make a big point to the agent once the offer's accepted. Please go tell the tenant, just so you know. And look, I'm always driving around Yorkshire. My guys are too. I always say, look, if we see the tenant coming out of the house, just say, hey, just so you're aware, we're buying the house. What we discussed is going to happen. So you're fine.
Is it ever a matter of like, we're buying the house, so the hands are changing, but you're not going to notice anything?
Well, usually what we do when we buy a house, first thing is like what needs fixing in the house.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of the time, like we're buying a couple of houses at the moment where they need a bit of TLC. Literally gutters repairing, things like that. Simple things where the landlords just haven't got the money or haven't been willing to dig into their own pockets. And that's a big thing. Or coming and putting a new boiler in. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about spending money like it's going out of fashion, but I'm talking about investments in the property when nothing else needs doing, but that's going to make huge running costs for the tenant dramatically cheaper. You know, we had a tenant where they were spending £8 a day on the boiler upkeep. That was a gas boiler, and it was just a couple. Put a new boiler, and it was less than, I think, £2.50. I don't know. That's what the tenant told me. So, you know, we want to come in, we want to improve our house. You know, yes, we have bought houses where tenants are in place and we've not spent a penny on them, and that's fine, because a house hasn't needed it. You know, I can think of one particular family where we bought the house, we bought it as a 3-bed, 1-bath. They've got a child in the house who's autistic. Whenever we do property inspections, we always try work with a tenant of when's best to come for their son. But look, they're going to stay in that house because that's a family home. The school's walking distance. Honestly, I think in 2 years, they've only had like one broken window. I'm assuming the door got slammed too hard or something. I don't know. Like, besides a gas safety, we've not had to spend any money on that house. But they also know that if something happens, we're going to jump and get it fixed.
So I was curious, just when you were talking about that, how do you know what's worth spending money on or not? Because you're talking mass sums of money here. First of all, you buy a house and you'll have limits yourself where it's like, I'm not even going to bother with that because I know there's going to be 50K's worth of improvements before I could even start renting out. No one's going to pay that, as well as right, I can spend $5,000 here and that will keep the wolves at bay, per se.
Yeah.
How do you make these decisions?
So it's really funny. It was actually looking at a house the other day, I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago, looking at on a street number 15. And we've got a client who owns number 21 who we bought actually this time last year. Pretty much a year ago, we bought that for 93,500. And this house, same layout, same everything, is 110 grand. Seeing pictures online, thought, okay, great, this house is going to meet the client's needs, looks perfect. Walking around, looking at it, and straight away I see a big red flag, and it's just going to mean realistically about 9.5, 10 grand's worth of spend on it. It needs a rewire. And okay, everyone's going to say rewire is only 3 to 4 grand. I'm like, yeah, rewire is, but then you've got to replaster, you've got new carpet, you've got to paint, because the reality is old carpet, you take it up, it ain't going back down. I don't care what you say, it's falling apart, or it's just not going to fit because it gets damaged on the lift up. And look, you can do a rewire and use cable conduit, but it looks so tacky. So, there you go, that's 10 grand on that house before the word go. And straight away I said to the guys living in it, like, look, sadly, we're not going to be the ones putting an offer in, it's too much work. But it's very much look at it, the house where tenant's been in there for 18 years, so we should complete on that in the next month, 2 months. The boiler, I reckon, is maybe 15 to 20 years old. The tenant's already reported multiple times there's issues with it, and I've said, look, as soon as there is we've purchased it and there's an issue with it, we're just going to replace it. First thing we'll actually have to do on that house is a gas safety, and I suspect the boiler will not pass for gas safety. And if that is the case, then within a week we'll have the boiler replaced. Really straightforward, really simple. And okay, yes, the benefit there is for the tenant, but there's also the benefit for the energy performance certificate, the EPC, the thing that every government has been knocking on about and jumping up, down, saying we got to get all rental houses to a C, which is another reason you're seeing landlords exit the market, because they haven't got the cash to be able to upgrade houses. Sometimes it's not the case of just change the light bulbs or change the thermostat. The light bulbs you can get marked down on, and it's going to have an impact on your rating. It's just crazy to me. A new boiler is going to have huge impact. The thermostat control, huge impact. Roof insulation, again, huge impact. But hey, we know we've bought houses where on the EPC it says it has roof insulation, and I've been in the loft, no roof insulation in there. So
why do people lie?
I presume.
I'm not just talking about this. I'm getting deep, man. I'm getting deep.
I know. It's shocking how many people lie about the small things, and then they don't maintain the small details, and they get caught out on it later. And I always just like, I just don't see the point. It's like someone,
because they think they're going to get away with it. That's why.
Yeah, it's like someone recently said to me, "Oh, so and so looking to do business with them. What do I think of that person?" And I just said, "Well, look, these are my views, and this is based on what they've told me." And it's very much the case of it's different to what they've told them. And like, they know we all know each other.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I think lies are always going to catch you out. And for me anyway, lies are a sore point in most conversations for me. I just can't tolerate it. I appreciate we all tell the odd white lie.
Yeah, I'll be there in 5 minutes, dude.
Oh, yeah. I'm still in bed, man. And it's an hour drive to yours.
Yeah, that one's acceptable.
Oh, yeah. Like, my best mate's terrible at timekeeping. Yeah. Equally, even if he's on the train, he's most likely got on the wrong train going the wrong direction. That has happened countless times, too many to count. So I will literally tell him an hour earlier in the hope that he still makes it on time. It doesn't usually, but, we love him. Yeah. I think in business, it's like, look, for raising the cash for the fund, when we started this journey in March, and one of the conversations I had with a mate who's helping me raise cash, I said, it really pisses me off because I know people have raised cash and they've lied about it first. They said, oh, we've raised 10 million quid. And then by the time they've got someone else on the hook and it's got to so far down the due diligence process, it's come out then, but everyone's already spent time, spent money on it.
Yeah,
and
your
then there's
budgets
other
and quotes and subcontracts are all based on what you've been told. And
yeah, I just don't see the point. You know, we're doing a major refurb at the moment for a client. We've not been involved with the sourcing of it. It's a block of 7 flats. It's now looks like we're going to turn it into a HMO, which we won't manage. I won't touch HMOs. That's housing multiple occupants. I think they're far more aggro than they're worth, and I just don't think the profit's there. I challenge anyone to show me the bottom line on a HMO, on a decent sized HMO, like a 7-8 bed HMO. Show me that it's more profitable than a standard resi house where, you know, I'm not going to have huge maintenance. You are. And the goalposts on it just keep changing. It's just been a blooming nightmare. The council's changing the goalposts on the works. And we deliberately went into that job and said, look, we're going to have to do a day rate because I don't want to come in and quote for the whole job as this is a fixed price, because from where I'm stood, I think the goalposts are going to change. We're now halfway into the project, and unfortunately, the goalposts look like they are going to change, you know, quite dramatically, where potentially we're going to have to double the original budget. And look, I definitely, if we had quoted a fixed fee, I wouldn't be on the hook because
fixed fees are only if the project description is fixed.
Yeah, but how often do clients change the goalposts?
Depends what you're doing.
I've got
in your world, I wouldn't know.
Oh gosh, I've got clients who have a big pot of cash. They got 5 million quid, and they were one of my first clients. But trying to get them to buy houses is a blooming nightmare because they always want the best deal on the best deal. They want 20-30% below market value and nothing wrong with it. And I'm just like, okay, we get these deals occasionally, but we don't bring them every day. They come once in a blue moon. And the cost of opportunity there. And we'll show them a deal. They'll say no to it because it's not cheap enough. We'll do it with another client. Show them, hey, just so you know, we did this deal. This was the numbers. And it was the numbers I said it'd be. And then they're like, why didn't you give it to us? I'm like, okay, wait. We showed you the deal. You said how it wasn't good enough and all this, and now you're moaning. I'm like, you're lying to yourself that you can get a better deal. The reality is you've cost yourself way more money by having it sat in the bank account.
Yeah. Well, do you know what's funny, actually? Money is just one form of value. And it's, you know, when you're looking at a house, again, if someone's just looking to buy and live there forever. I watched, I think it was Deborah Meaden on a podcast once, and she was talking specifically about, you know, everyone's just obsessed with getting an ROI on everything. It's like, every single thing. She's like, and, you know, she's talking about a house. She's like, I love my house. I put loads of money into it. Money that I know I'm not getting back, but I don't care. It's just my house. I don't need everything to make me money. Yeah. You know, I thought that was a really interesting thing because just like you said there, everyone's obsessed with the best deal, the best this. You don't always need that. Sometimes it's like, that feels right. I'm off for it.
Oh, complete. And it's funny timing. So I've never done this before. Like, I've always put my money into property, cars, and premium bonds, and a few country bonds. Very simple stuff, very safe stuff, the stuff I know.
Mine just goes into KFC.
Oh, man. Oh, mate, have you tried Slim Chicken? So much better.
No, but Sam said we're off there after this.
Oh,
yeah, I was watching down the road.
Brilliant. I'm sorry, lean up, guys. I'm on this diet, and I know. But yeah, Slim Chicken's so good.
Is it?
Yeah,
I can't wait.
And all the dips, it's so good. Yeah, it's really bad. Oh gosh, what were we saying?
We were talking about money is not the only form of value.
So something that I've done, like I turned 30 last June, and I've realised I haven't actually treated myself to anything. And I saw some artwork at the shared office I used, and I was being stupid. I was like, cool, I'm just going to make an offer like significantly below asking price, because I thought, look, if I get it, great. If I don't, I'll live. And then bugger me, I bumped into the gallery owner the other day, and he was like, come on, someone else has offered, where are you at? I'm like, well, look, I've told you my final price. This is it. I'm not budging. I said, I'll do a bank transfer straight away. You have it. Bastard said yes. So like technically it is an investment, but I'm very much viewing it as, I don't care on the investment return. I'm going to have these up in my lounge. I think they get delivered in the next week. I really like them. Up and coming artists. He's got a bunch of awards this year.
So up and coming, he's not 90, is he?
No, he's not. I don't know. He always has his face covered in all his pictures. So as part of the deal, I actually get to meet him face to face, unmasked. because I made it as a part of a TNC, and I won't post any pictures of him, but it was just like, I like this. So if I get it, great. If I don't, if it down values massively, okay, I'll live with it. But
it's for you.
It was about me. Right now, my walls in my flat are empty. I have one picture of 2 otters hugging, Molly and Bertha. And people will laugh and think that's not true. And people who've been in my room will know that is completely true.
There'll be a link to that in the comments.
I like that picture, but it's about friendship. But I like it. So yeah, I bought some artwork for the first time in my life, which feels crazy. And my father turned around to me and just said, "You're an idiot." But I thought funniest thing was,
you're far from an idiot, pal.
Oh God, I make so many mistakes. It's fine. But as soon as everyone at the club, the shared office, found out that I bought these up, everyone's got an opinion. Everyone's telling me their opinion. And I feel that's kind of says a lot about investments as a whole. You know, we meet with clients or potential clients and they're like, well, look, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this. And I'm like, look, guys, I'm going to tell you what we do. I'm not going to shove it down your throats. I'm just going to lay out the facts. You've got to pick what's right for you. And I think property is beautiful like that because it's simple. If everything goes to shit with the economy, you still need a roof over your house. Roof over your head, even. Yeah. Roof over your house. Oh, it kind of works. And that's kind of why I like it. It's simplicity. Like, everyone's got their 2 cents to a conversation, especially with property, because everyone has a house they rent or a house they live in. It's such a controversial and emotive topic.
Do you know, what's it like from your perspective when everyone's got an opinion about, flipping houses, this, that? Everyone thinks they're an entrepreneur talking about buying properties. Oh, yeah, you get money. Ooh, buy some property. But you obviously know the deep ins and outs.
I'm a big believer in property because I love it. It's what I put cash in. It's simple. I think there's nothing wrong with renting houses. I'm a tenant. My place in London, I rent. Plain and simple. I am a tenant in it.
Why is that when you've got a bunch of your own properties?
So the house I have in Yorkshire in Barnsley, I live in. I own it. Well, live is the wrong word. There is a mattress. The fridge has never been plugged in. The oven's never been used. A few of my builders will know this to be true. Because I'm here for work, I'm here social. And for London, it makes a lot of sense renting for me. The numbers make more sense. If I had to buy the flat I'm in, it's just shy of £1 million. And I just don't think that's a good use of cash. Really? I've got friends who are billionaires, like guy in the Middle East, multi-billionaire, literally come from nothing. And I usually stay with him when we're out there. And beautiful house in Turkey, in the real countryside, like friends who know me know the house and know the area. And when you ask him how long he's owned it, he's like, no, I rent it. It's $1,500 a month. And this is a guy who could buy the house and buy all the neighbouring houses with no problem, not even notice it on the balance sheet. But it's easier, it's comfortable, it suits his lifestyle. And London renting for me suits my lifestyle perfectly right now. Like, don't get me wrong, if there's a partner with kids, then yeah, I'll buy 100%. But I think there's certainly been in the last few years a very negative connotation to renting. And the reality is it's freedom. People...
I've heard good things about renting in the past few years. A lot of people turning towards it more, especially with, again, the costs of buying a house. You're tied in, you're limited to location. There's loads of downsides. And a lot of people like the ability to say, I like changing up every few years.
Yeah. But it's young professionals doing that and young people who don't have the kids, haven't got tied down. People's financial priorities today are for restaurants, for clothes, for holidays, and let's be frank, for cars or motorbikes. But that's where people's financial priorities are. Look, equally, the opportunity to buy a house now is so expensive. Yes, I'm in south of the country. I'm in London. I've grown up in a home county. The average house price in the home county that I grew up in is, I think, 600-700k now. My parents own a bungalow they bought for 90k and is now worth about $1 million. That's obscene.
That is obscene. But that checks out.
Yeah. And even my parents just like, it's nuts. It doesn't make any sense. And they bought it as a 2-bedder and they've done extensions and everything else. They've invested in their property. Look, we're at 39% rental in this country as of 2019, according to the government. I reckon if you did the survey today, we'd be about 44-45%. And I think that number's only going up. And my friends, the only ones who own houses are the business owners. But that's the reality. A few who are lawyers who own houses, but I've got mates on PAYE who I don't see them ever buying a house, frankly, not unless parents drop dead and give them a house, but their parents have mortgages. And that's kind of where we're going. And
do you think it'll ever level at some point in our lifetime?
I don't think so. I think COVID was a great thing for increasing the divide with people. I had mates who had tech businesses where their revenues just went crazy and their bottom lines went crazy because all of a sudden they could get rid of their offices and they fully adapted to remote working. I think it's harder now than ever before. First place I did work experience when I was 16. Might have been second place.
Did work experience after building a 12-person team?
Oh, God. Well, I learned a lot from that, I'll be honest. I learned a hell of a lot from hiring people at such a young age. But I worked for a property guy, a developer who had a huge pub contract for refurbs and did development. And he was around in the 80s. He grew up with nothing. And the reality is, I don't think you can do what he did today. I just don't think it's possible. Cost of money back then, being able to get 100% mortgages from the banks. You can't do that stuff today. But there's no chance. I think the route that I've gone down for growing the business and getting me on the property ladder of sourcing and managing and then being able to use my cash to buy property, I think it's very hard today. I said, look, I'm not an academic. I dropped out of uni after 1 year and I really shouldn't have even got into uni. I could spell Ed with my A-level results with a double D. But academics not for me. So I was never going to get a professional job like a lawyer or an accountant or something that needed a degree where, okay, great, I'm going to be a GP where I'm going to come out earning, 60,000, 80,000 and only working 4 days. That was never in my future, but I always wanted to work for myself. And hell, some days you're just like, why am I doing this? It is so stressful and so crazy, but you love waking up and working for yourself and the opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same. For me, it's just not an option. I can't bear the thought of, I have to be somewhere at a certain time or whatever. Don't get me wrong, obviously that does happen. I have meetings, I shoot podcasts, and it's people plan around it, and that's great. But I'm doing it for me.
Yeah,
and it means everything.
I still stand by. I think the most, and I know it's a cliche, like regardless of what you're spending your money on, the most important thing is actually who you surround yourselves with.
Oh my God, mate, that has never rang more true as of recent for me.
What's happened with you?
Just starting this podcast, talking to people, and learning about real people that are making real money. And everyone's got the same answer. It's about your relationships. It's about who you hang out with. It's about who you know. Because there's no such thing as sales calls. There's not.
No.
There's no such thing as, there's no such thing as scripts, you name it. It's and the whole world, LinkedIn's trying to tell you, they're out there. No, it's about, I know all these great people. I have access to their network because I'm pals with them. They have access to mine. Everyone knows what you do and how much it costs. You get referrals, you get word of mouth. That's how it's done. 100%. It's no sales scripts. What a load of shit. What a load of crap.
Well, it's that whole thing. If you hang out with 5 broke people, you'll be the 6th. If you hang out with 5 millionaires, you'll be the 6th. I joined in November 2022 a private members club in London. I joined 2. I joined Home House, just in Marylebone, and I joined its sister club, Homegrown Club, which is a club designed at getting entrepreneurs together, networking, business opportunity. And frankly, I went there with the view of, great, I don't want to work from home. I have somewhere to socialize, somewhere to work. I didn't think I'd make such amazing friends. I didn't think I'd get business out of it. I'd just go there with the view of, hey, I'm going to have a bit of fun, do some work, socialize. I've picked up a huge amount of business. I've introduced other people to clients, their clients, if like A to B. Not got anything out of it than a pint or a meal. But that's not the point. It's because I want to help people who are doing the same thing I'm doing, trying to build a business, trying to build something sustainable. And that's really the key. And it's the community you surround yourself with. The people you surround yourself with, the person you share a bed with, I think they're the most important things. Like, I've become really good in the last, I'd say 10 years since the car washing business, really, of cutting out people who are toxic to me, people who have a negative impact, who have too much drama. I don't need that in my life. Life's hard enough running a business, because anyone who says, oh, it's 9 to 5, bullshit. Because
it's not 9 to 5. We've tried that. We've tried coming from music, as you know, music background, going into the more B2B world. That's who we're working with. We tried getting all structured and things are in email now. No, it don't work. It don't work. I'm back to what I knew instinctively worked. You can't put hours on it, and it doesn't matter. Again, I've had conversations with my wife about this, where she's like, "Oh, you need to stop working at 5." I'm like, it does not work that way, and you will never understand that until you do what I do. But she obviously made a peace with it now. But it's a real thing. You don't stop. You don't get to.
I don't think necessarily balance exists. Like, I had a long-term relationship, and one of the things she never understood was, if the phone's going from a client, I'm going to answer. And I remember we went on a 3-week holiday to Israel, and the whole view was, for me, it was a working holiday. Like, I'd have my laptop with me, I'm working. Because we went during May, June time, so not holiday season, and the phone was going because there was deals to be done. And she was so negative. She was very much a glass half empty person, and I'm a glass half full. And if the opportunity's there, I'm going to jump on it. And I know it may sound misogynistic, but that's what was paying for the holiday. That was what was allowing her to get clothes, enjoy her life, not have to worry about money, because she didn't work. The only one working here was me. My priority, I'd love to say my partner is always going to be more important than the business. I think that most likely is a lie.
They come hand in hand.
I think they'll be level. I don't think, okay, don't get me wrong, if there's a wedding day, they're going to come first. But I think the reality is, when you're on that warpath to growing, the business is going to come first, because it's about short-term pain.
Well, do you know, can I just dip on something you said there? You said you don't think balance exists. I do, but in a different way, and you kind of just mentioned it there. I think balance doesn't strictly have to be the conventional 9 to 5, chill on evenings and weekend. I think balance, because I heard this and it makes perfect sense to me, might be like, do you know what? I use my 20s and my 30s to work my balls off. And then I can chill in my 40s. Yeah. Maybe it could be longer term things. People talk about it in like diets, like eat well in the week, eat like shit on the weekend or whatever. Well, how about you eat insanely well, no cheat meals for a year, and then you go to balance, or something like that. It's different ways of doing it.
Well, I'm 6 weeks into a health kick. This is week 7, and I've lost just over 10 kg in 6 weeks. Which, considering McDonald's was on the diet regularly back in the day, because I'm on the road and it's consistent, it's easy food. Yeah. And Mackey's, I think Usain Bolt said, what's the best thing to have 2 weeks before a big race? He's like, Mackey's, because you're not going to get diarrhea. It's not necessarily the best for you, but it hits the protein target, and it's good quality. And I don't care what anyone says. I got a culinary background. Did a bit of chefing. I know Mackey's is decent quality. It's not high, but it's decent. I think it all that. It's about mindset. It's about the people you surround yourself with, the goals. I was listening to a podcast earlier with one of the co-founders of Netflix, and he said, whatever happens, 5:00 on a Tuesday, still to this day, is date night with his wife. And I've always had that view with exes, where one night a week it was usually a Monday night, we do the cinema and go for dinner. That was always my thing, because Monday night, I always said as well, you need Monday, just your first day back at it, which wasn't, because I'd work Sunday, but you need a happy film to motivate you for the rest of the week, and a nice meal. It's just really nice to do it that way. I don't necessarily think balance is there, but look, I'm 30 years old. My view is I'm going to work my ass off, and I'm going to keep doing so.
Well, at 30, you've done more than most 50-year-olds have done, and that is a good thing. You've obviously put a lot of time and effort into it, and you might have just condensed it all into your younger years.
I think it's about, look, I've always known. I think most likely since I'd say about 8 or 9, I knew what I wanted. My first little business, pre-car washing, was I was selling Coke cans and football stickers at school. I made a fair bit of money selling Coke cans. God, I remember when you could buy Freddos for 5p and Coke cans for about 21, 23p from Costco. I know that. and we were selling for 50, 60p a can. Freddos we were selling for 10,
You've
20p.
just been hustling since you were born.
Well, it's just like, I want my own money. I never wanted parents' money. Like, look, even we never had pocket money. We had job money. So we had this chart on the fridge. My brother and I, we'd have each of our own charts on it. And you used to get 10p a tick. So to get a tick, you had to vacuum, walk the dog, dog poo, brush the dog, take the bins out. And then when we got a bit older, it doubled to 20p a tick. And it was just, and we get paid weekly.
This is the best thing I've ever heard.
You know, and I love that because I think it's so important to have a job. Like, I went to state school, but I grew up, I'm Jewish. I went to synagogue, and in Maidenhead, you had a whole load of people who went to Eton College, Wellington College, Bradfield College, and for goodness sake, they did not have work ethic at all, because they've walked into six-figure jobs afterwards. They've gone to Oxbridge, then Goldman Sachs, JP, gone top jobs because of their education, but they have no work drive. And as a result, because they don't know the value of money, they know how to spend it. Gosh, we all know how to spend it. But I was always taught to go work for your own money, you know, and I don't think I realised at that age. I realised as I got into my late teens, like my family history, you know, on my mum's side, they're Holocaust survivors. When they came over to this country, they didn't have any money. They literally came over as servants to get away from Germany. They came over just before the war started. And I think, you know, they hustled, they bustled to stay afloat. You know, my understanding, my grandfather died long before I was around, but, you know, he had a brand new MG a couple of times and he was so proud of that. My grandmother was the company debt collector, would go around chasing people who didn't pay the money, pay the bills. You know, little old lady, she must have been, 5'1". But, you know, I think that's kind of in my blood there, but I didn't know when I was a child, okay, well, actually, there's a bit of history in your family of business owners. Like, my dad was a business owner. He had poster shops, record shops, and then in his later years, he was a motorbike courier before he kind of semi-retired. But again, he's a landlord. My mum left her corporate job to start up her own medical writing company, and also work in a charity part-time. You know, so there's very much an entrepreneur culture in my family.
So it's more about purpose, creating purpose, but learning to monetize it.
Yeah, very much so. I learned, though, my parents had structured us in such a way that we learned very quickly what the value of money was, or rather we learned how to make money. I think that's more appropriate. Because
I love that. I love that. That's something I'm trying to teach my daughter as well at the same time.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Because your daughter's what, 7, 8
no,
years old?
No, she's 10 now.
Oh,
10,
she's
mate.
10.
Yeah.
Blimey.
Yeah, and it's insane because same deal. She's there on Amazon like, oh, look, this is only £16. It's like, you don't know what £16 is, you know?
Yeah.
And it's things like that. One thing I'm trying to drill into her is how to make money. So the more I learn from this, conversations like we're having now, the more I can teach her. And by the time she hits the real world, 18, 20, whatever, she knows she'll be able to bypass 10 years of trial and error that I've had, and hopefully she'll be putting the graft and happy to do it. But I will tell her things like, don't be falling for like sales scripts, you know.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not about that. This is what you need to do, because if you master that, you can make money and you can do whatever you want.
Well, I think in parents today, and look, I'm not a parent, so I'm very much going to be talking out my arse. I think a lot of parents are snowflakes.
Oh, yeah.
I think a lot of people are snowflakes. I think people don't have the work ethic. They don't have the drive. They're too worried about offending people. I am blunt. I have clients who don't necessarily like me, but they like the results I get. And I think that says a lot, because they rather get the results than... And look, we get on, but, you know, they're not going to agree with my views on Israel. They're not going to agree with my political views, my views on other things. But the bottom line is I deliver. And I think that's the most important. And they know my work ethic. I had a call from someone who we're not currently doing business with, hope we'll be doing business with soon. They've got a company, and he called me up. I've known him, I must have known him 12 years. He's called me up like, what's your goal with the business? Are you going to exit once you get to a certain size? I was like, nope. This is business. We're going to build it up. We're going to put a management team in. We're going to keep it going. He's like, because of that, we're going to work together. Because his view is he doesn't want to get into bed with someone whose goal is the exit. And
Yeah.
my goal has never been the exit. The exit has never been, hey, let's go sit on a beach. The goal is I want to hit £1 billion worth of property. That's always been the goal. And we will hit that. The only question is when.
Yeah.
And look, I could go out and get a supercar right now. And it was very tempting back in June for the birthday. But the reality is that cash is better used investing in myself, investing in the business, investing in getting another house and then another house. And that's my view. I think people don't invest. People are too scared to take a long-term view with their children and invest for their future. They're just like, oh, well, I don't want to say no to her or him. So we'll just say yes. I think the tick chart we had as kids was genius. Like,
it's
now,
genius, mate. It's
like,
genius.
It's genius.
No, because I can't unsee this. It's like you say, like a bunch of parents that
unloading the dishwasher. That's the one we always hated. Like, I say hated
because half a tick.
Well, no, that was our tick, but it was first thing in the morning. And of course, like, I used to love my Rice Krispies and Shreddies mixed in a bowl. But if you wanted a bowl, you had to unload the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Because we weren't allowed to just take out the dishwasher on what we wanted.
Yeah.
Nope, you got to unload the whole thing.
Oh, I love that. That's so good. Well, do you know what you were saying earlier? This whole thing, I completely agree. I think that whole thing came out about, like, a lot of kids from our generation raised too rough, like not listening to feelings and stuff. There's, maybe in some ways, yeah, absolutely. But then people have gone the total opposite now and just gentle parenting, which is like, okay,
bullshit.
It's mental, isn't it? Because it's like, do you realize these people are going to be adults? Do you realise they're going to be adults one day? They're going to be spoiled, grown-ass idiots running around thinking they're owed something. And that's great, whatever. They'll have a wonderful time up to the age of 18 where no one's ever told them no. But the second they are out in the free market of the world, no one's going to like them. No one's going to want to do business with them.
I feel like this sums up really well. I'm not saying that one parenting style is better than others, but I think the current parenting we're seeing from in schools, like I've got cousins who are teachers, friends who are teachers, and I'm just like, sending kids to school who still don't know how to wipe their own arse and blow their noses just seems crazy.
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend I know enough about what's happening there, but all I know is the way I'm raising my daughter, and it's like, you are going to enter the world, and you can be useful or useless. You're going to be one of them.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you're useful.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, I think I like Yellowstone with Kevin. Is it not?
Oh, right.
Kevin Costner.
I've not seen it, but I'm aware of it.
Really good. And there's a line in it where, in one of the last seasons, where Beth, his daughter, in it says to this kid, like, there's only 3 ways to make money. You either on your back, inherit it, or you work fucking hard.
I've seen that clip.
Yeah. And I think that kind of sums it up really well. And, money doesn't come out of nowhere. You got to work fucking hard for it.
Yeah.
And I've done days where I worked so fucking hard and I've made no money. And I'm just like sat there like, why the fuck am I doing this?
But it's planting the seed to make money later.
100%. It's laying the groundwork. It's for the bigger plan. Everything I've been doing has been building up to launching a property fund. Everything. There's been a big plan and we've always been working towards that. It's never been the case of, hey, there's no plan, we're just winging it. I always think, people have plans, they just might not put it on paper, they might not write it down. Everyone's got a plan, but it's actually, how are you going to achieve it? It's what's the goal and work backwards. And that's what we do with clients. We say, what's the goal? And we work backwards. We've got a great client at the moment who said, look, this is my goal. I need to be bringing in net 10K a month. It's like, cool. That's the goal. This is the plan. What's the time frame? So 18 months. By the end of 18 months, he'll have that goal. He'll have hit it. Okay, yes, he's got the cash to hit that goal. And of course, that helps. There's no question. Like, the money isn't coming out of nowhere. He's coming from his job. But it's investing. He has said, I'm sacrificing. I'm not going to go on holiday this year because I can save some cash. I can put that into a house. I can get there quicker. People don't want to sacrifice. Same with dieting. Like, I've been on this now 6 weeks and like shocked how many friends are just not willing to make a little tweak for the short term in their lifestyle.
Yeah. How do you do? How do you get success? You all know. Yeah, it's hard
work.
Hard.
It's like, and I have to say, and I'm not trying to pet them up here. Homegrown club's been fantastic for that for me, because for the first time in my life, other than family, I'm surrounded by other business owners at different stages, because you've got the early startup, you've got the real growth side. You've got we're flattening out. I mean, you've got the guys who have exited, and everyone wants to talk to everyone, and I love that. And it's given me insights on different way of thinking about money, about business, which frankly I just didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah,
and it goes back to the people you surround yourself with. Like, do I want to send my kids, when I have kids, to private school? Yes and no. Like, yes, because of the opportunities, but no, because I think it will potentially ruin them. Like, you know,
they're not growing up with the experience of how real people are.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I think I was very fortunate that I grew up state school, but we also grew up around people from private school with a lot of money. You know, I grew up on the council estate, which, you know, I think that gave me a good rounding. Went to school, learnt to fight. Like, again, I think learning to fight is really important. Boy or girl, you should learn to fight because it's discipline. I did kickboxing, I think karate and kickboxing from the age of 5 to, I want to say, 18. I think partly because of being bullied at school, but partly because my dad's view was, you're going to do martial arts. He did martial arts. I will have my kids do martial arts. And yeah, I think it's important. I think all of that's training you mentally on how you approach life, how you deal with things, how you deal with problems. I think it's very easy to get very hot-headed, wound up on a situation, and trying to take a step back from life and business to see the big picture is sometimes hard. Just being in a position where you can actually sit back and reflect on it. Tunnel vision, particularly as a business owner, is very, very common. And I think depression is very common as well. Like, I've never been diagnosed with depression. I've never taken any drugs for depression. Do I think I have times where I'm depressed? Hell yeah. And any business owner who says never get depressed, bullshit.
Oh, every single one of us.
Yeah, bullshit. But I'm not going to sit at home on the sofa moaning about life. It's just not how I was raised. Don't get me wrong. I went broke when I was 20, 21, something like that. Flat out broke. Didn't have a pot to piss in. Did some stupid shit with a business. Tunnel vision. Burnt through all the cash I'd saved up from the car washing in a food truck. And frankly, I think the 2-3 weeks after going bust, or as it was happening, I was in a flat in London that I rented out, which I knew I could no longer afford. I was very fortunate that we'd paid the rent up front for the year, so I knew I was safe from there. Couldn't afford food. Like, I just stayed on my sofa for 3 weeks. Had a few good friends came round, brought food round. And I think that's the only time, like, the depression has really fucked me. And that properly fucked me. And that was hard to get out of. That was really hard. And in truth, I got out of it. But at the same time, I think it most likely took me a good 5-6 years to get out of that mindset of feeling sorry for myself. You know, first time in my life, I went to go work for someone else. And it was very much the case of, I felt depressed. I felt sorry for myself every day. I hated it. Hated working for someone else. Like, don't get me wrong, I was very thankful for the opportunity of, they took me up when I was down and came in as a director and all the rest of it. But there was a huge amount of feeling like failure and inadequate.
I think depression, and it's kind of fortunate as a business owner because it's always there and it serves as a constant reminder to do the right things, as in the things you know you need to do, the things you maybe don't feel like doing, because that will keep it away. But it moderates you and it constantly makes you go, need to focus on making cash, need to focus on doing the right things, and it's you can keep it at bay, I've found.
You can, and like, look, I'm dyslexic. I've most likely got ADHD as well. I can't be sat still on my sofa anyway.
Every business owner.
Yeah, there's a common trait here, guys. But that 3-week period on the sofa, really, like, I still think about it because that was the big turning point. Because also that was, up until that point, it was very much a case of, I can do no wrong. Like, nothing I can do will go wrong. And it was just like, it was slowly falling apart around me. I think it was really between we went bust, October, November. I say we, there was no we, it was me. Narrowly avoid bankruptcy at 2021. And And it was very much the case of then getting out of that. An old car washing client gave me an opportunity, and I just jumped on it because I didn't know what else to do. But worked there for 6 years, just under 6 years, 5.5 years, and I know for that every day, pretty much being there, I was not happy. I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with the people I was around. I was not happy with what I was doing. In my head, I had still felt like a failure. I had ideas of starting up a property business. I had ideas for other stuff. And it was just the case of I couldn't get over that mental block of how to get back on my feet. I just couldn't get over it. And that was really tough. And I think I've not done therapy. I've never done therapy. I'm not sure I believe in therapy.
Me too.
I've paid for other people to go to therapy, and it's fucked them up more than me. So, but that was a really tough point with business, with life. Just, on paper, everything looked great. You had the big salary coming in. I was living in hotels pretty much the whole time. I'd given up my flat in London and technically moved back in with mum and dad, but I was like living in Barcelona, living in Birmingham. I was living all over the place, but it was all for work, and I was very, very alone. And all I wanted to do was start up a business again, but I just didn't have the confidence to do it. The failure had overshadowed everything, and I think a lot of that's down to the UK outlook on business and entrepreneurship. And you fail in business here, and it's very much like you get one strike and you're out. I've never been to the US, and I've got mates who operate out there, and they're very much like, yeah, you fuck up, it's fine, no one cares.
Yeah,
as long as you learn from it. And look, hell yeah, I've learned from my mistake, but it's still very difficult, and a lot of people don't know that I made that fuck up and how badly it all went. And like my parents do, they were there throughout it. My brother was, but that was really tough, and trying to get out of that mentally. I do genuinely think it took the whole time working at that company. I don't think working in that environment as well was helpful for me. I think there was great opportunities, but I think I most likely would have got back on my feet a lot sooner if I'd gone and worked at McDonald's.
Well, do you know what? I do want to bring this to a close. So I would like, just where you were leading with that, what advice would you give to your younger self, anyone else, based on the situation you're in, to get out of depression and move forward with a business?
It's so much easier said than done, but you just got to go for it. I think if I'd known now what I know, I would have joined the likes of Homegrown a lot sooner, because of meeting other business owners. I would have most likely been a bit more honest with friends about what was going on. And it's just that whole approach. I've learned a lot in that time, a hell of a lot. It's just, it's hard sometimes. It's hard to admit your failings, and empathy, sympathy for me is very much a challenge. And humility is not something I'm very good at. Take about what you will. I just think, look, life happens. You just got to keep going and just keep learning from it. What's the mistake? Approach it, learn from it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. And I'm going to live and die by it, but would you let your mother do it? And would you let your mother live in it? Would you let your mother eat it? I think that's a really good saying. Like, it sounds cheesy as fuck, but yeah.
Does the trick.
Yeah.
Well, mate, learned a lot. I think you have an amazing story, an amazing outlook and approach to business. Thank you so much for joining me.
Cheers, buddy. Look forward to the next one.